What's up, guys? Welcome to Wasted Time, the DIY show where we focus on what other people waste. I had a chance to sit down with Matt and Dan. Remember, Matt's the one who builds furniture out of bed frames and fence pickets that other people have thrown away. And Dan's the one who won our last bulletproof challenge by building a bulletproof shield out of rocks. And in our talk, we talked about why other people seem to not understand our special approach to DIY, and why other people seem to think it's a waste of our time, and how we eventually came to agree with them. So take a look for some of the philosophy behind why we do what we do, and why we think it's important for you to accept that DIY is a waste of time. Let's go. I first really got into DIYing because I wanted things that I couldn't afford to have, right? Like I wanted an apartment that I couldn't afford to have, and I wanted furniture that I couldn't afford to have. And so it was all about me like wanting a thing. And I made myself really upset doing that because I would design something and then it wouldn't work out.
You know, if you're buying something from a company, they've spent millions of dollars in R&D so that they can get it as cheap as possible. So they know the price point they put, you can't build it for cheaper.
Right.
Unless you are a professional that has the tools and has all the materials already.
And the knowledge that they have.
And then at that point, it's no longer DIY because you're a professional.
Right. Here's another way that I like to think about it. We're all the world is really big now. And you can order things from all over. So you don't have a limit of access to what you can have because you don't know anyone who sells that, right? There are no stores nearby that sell that. You can have anything, and because of that, it's better for us as this big community to specialize to make better things. Mm-hmm. Except for then you are left doing nothing, and you're a boring, sad person.
My opinion is if it's only about getting the thing that you're making, then you should just buy it. Like, we have so much access to builders that you can go online and you can find what you want and you can just buy it. And it's going to be quicker and it's going to be cheaper in most cases. But then you're not growing. You're not becoming better. And if you look at people who do follow the DIY community or do build stuff themselves, you start to see them building better things until we do reach the point where people have become professionals. I see a lot of YouTubers that now build stuff, and I'm like, is it DIY anymore? Like,
does it count?
It's about you fulfilling more than just the thing you're creating.
Yeah.
Right. And I always just think about it like, 3 years ago, we would have never thought that we wouldn't have access to things, and then you fast forward to last year, and everyone's stuck at home. Amazon was backed up something like 3 months.
No more 2-day shipping? What?
No more 2-day shipping on Amazon Prime. Everybody was in a huff.
I had to wait a whole week.
Well, and the funny thing was, people were stuck at home looking at their furniture and all the things that you normally don't look at. It's faded to the background. And so, because of that, DIY went up. Like, everyone started engaging in DIY. My wife and I, we built, for the first time ever, built a little, like, rolling cupboard shelf together. And it was so much fun. We didn't have the right tools for it, and even though it was difficult and hard, and the product that we ended up with was 2 inches longer rather than 2 inches taller, like we were planning on, we love that thing. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we still brag about to our friends. The thing is, even though it wasn't perfect, we now know that if we wanted to, we could do it again.
Yeah.
And that isn't scary anymore. We've already dove into the pool, so we know it's not going to have sharks in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The reason that I think it helps me to accept that DIY is a waste of time is it changes how I move forward on DIY projects. It helps me swallow failures better and be able to be like, yeah, what if it sucks? That's not why I'm here. And I remember really, really clearly there was one day where all three of us got together to build the play fort for my kids, and I was so mad because I had a project plan. I had everything like, this is what we're going to get done today. This is what we're going to get done today. And you guys stopped me and you were just like, so, like, hey man, why are we here? Are we doing this for fun? Or are we not doing it for fun? Because I was not having fun because I wasn't turning out in the quality that I wanted it to be, and it wasn't turning out as fast as I wanted it to be. I was expecting all these things to happen, and they weren't happening. And if I had had a wasted time mindset, you know, we had set aside a whole day to work on that thing. And if you get nothing done, who cares? There's no one on the clock who's like, you're behind. No, you're wasting your own time, and you're enjoying yourself, and you're becoming better because of it. And that also helped me, that mindset also helped me accept more of my own, like, curiosity. Because my thing is, like, I'm curious about all kinds of stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I am a little bit nervous about what people will think and what people will say, because people have thought and said things before where they're like, why in the world would you be interested in drinking your own urine? That makes no sense to me.
And
I wouldn't know those people.
Yeah. And those people might still feel that way.
and that's the thing, is like, for me, curiosity is enough. And that's not for everybody else. But saying, well, curiosity is enough to build it, to test it, to try it. You don't have to build a costume because you're hoping to go to Comic-Con.
Yeah.
You could just build a costume because you like that. Because that's how you want to spend your time. And it is a waste of time because you could have that costume so much faster, or you choosing to be the one who builds it will always introduce problems and make it not work out and stuff like that. And that's why it is a waste of time.
The most ironic thing to me is that we waste time all the time. And there's almost like socially acceptable wasting time. And everyone is, if you don't binge watch shows for 3 hours a night, then you are wasting your time.
Right.
It's like, oh, I spent 2 hours working on a bench that didn't work out. And then people are like, what is wrong with you?
What a waste of time.
And what shows are you watching? You know,
right.
like
Yeah, but did you see that the other night?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me that sometimes we can't accept that. We can't accept that someone is building something. We can't comprehend that someone would put time and energy and money into something that they're not going to get the product they want out of.
Yeah.
But you know, for watching any type of streaming service, including YouTube, we spend a whole lot of time wasting time.
Yeah. And even within DIY, there are levels of socially acceptable time wasters, where I remember one time being like, I wonder if I could build something small like a hammer or a box out of our Christmas tree. And so I started to break down the Christmas tree. And people were like, well, you could just go to the hobby store and they have like hammer kits and like box kits. And I actually really detest hobby kits.
Yeah.
Because kits don't satisfy my curiosity.
Same here.
And so I don't want a kit. But other people are like, well, if you wanted the box and you want to build something, problem solved.
It's like getting the meals where everything's prepped. It's great and all, but for me, from a creative level, for me with cooking, it's the same way with Papa Murphy's, and this won't be in the video, but Papa Murphy's, I do not understand. You're going to make me cook my own pizza, it's going to cost the same, and it's going to take as long to get. Yeah, right. I've seen recipes where it's like how to make queso. And it's like, go to your store and you buy the queso, you put it in here and you heat it up in the microwave. I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's shake and bake. I helped make it.
Yeah. I feel that. That's why I feel that way with kits.
Like, I was so excited. They had this glass blowing place where they said you can make your own glass flower. And so I was picturing like, all right, I'm gonna blow it out. I'm gonna do all of these different things. I'm gonna make it really spiky because I think that'll be so cool. And I get there and they're like, all right, come on back. And they toss the glass in the kiln and then they pull it out and they start blowing and they swirl it around into a thing. And then it's all formed and they're like, okay, grab the pliers and pull out some petals. All right, you got to do it a little faster. All right, you're done. I was like, that's so disappointing. I wanted so badly to be able to just, put my creative flair on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't do that.
And I feel like that falls in the same category as socially acceptable wasted time. That's where it's safer. That's where you have the hobbyists, and that's where people are like, oh, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it was a date, or that's your hobby. You wanted to just spend some time. But if you say, no, I wanted to build my own forge in the backyard, people are like, why would you do that?
Right.
Are you going to be selling this? No, I just wanted to do it. Well, that's a waste of time. And that's where you go from socially accepted hobby into wasted time.
And I mean, even if you only do it once, you have that opportunity to put your creative flair and be able to actually do something yourself.
Yeah.
It's not a neutered experience that's been watered down and is handed to you on a silver platter that's like, oh, here, put these things together. Good job, you made a birdhouse. It's like, no, I cut down a tree and I made a birdhouse.
But why would you do that? When you could have just gotten a kit and make a birdhouse.
But you have to accept, as part of wasted time, I'm going to build this thing, and there is a chance that it won't work.
Yeah.
But if you are buying a kit and it doesn't fit together, you call the manufacturer. You're like, no, this kit is broken. But if you try to make, like I did, if you try to make something from a Christmas tree and then it doesn't work, maybe you're broken. But that's okay. You're learning, right? I can get fixed. But there's, I don't know, I find that so freeing. The idea that if I accept that it's wasted time, then I don't feel as bad about failure, and I have a lot more frustration tolerance working with something. Yes, DIY will always be a waste of time. It will always be more time expensive and money expensive than anyone wants to admit that it is. You'll see tutorials where people are like, I will build, we're going to build a shelf for $17. And they're never, ever doing the full math when you actually take the full tally. Where they're like, I'm pulling out this plywood that I've got left over. It's like, great, if I were to buy that, that would cost this much. I'm going to run it through this table saw. Great, I don't have a table saw. If I were to buy that, that's an extra $500 and $100 for the drill. Mm-hmm. And it's like, now that I have to actually tally it up, and for people who do DIY, they spend so much money on tools and things like that, and it's worth it as long as you understand what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
That you're engaging in a really fulfilling hobby that pays dividends in who you are and what you're able to do and the richness of how you experience life. And there's something real about that and something so much more important about those kinds of experiences. I think it's really apparent. We started talking about this to talk about why building things yourself is a waste of time. But I think it's really apparent in the way that we talk about it that we don't think it's a waste of time. It's really apparent based on our entire set of life decisions that we don't think it's a waste of time. I think there is value in accepting that you're not a professional, and there's value in accepting that you get to do things because you're not a professional. Mm-hmm. You get to waste time, you get to explore, you get to feed your curiosity, you get to produce multiple of one thing because you're not on the clock.
Like you said, if you're just making something and you want that one thing and that's your reason for it, you're just trying to save money, you're not going to save money. Like that's where doing it yourself is pointless.
Yeah,
so to speak. But if you look at DIY from the lens that you are curious, you want to do something with your time, you want to see if you can do it, you want to see your ability, and then use that to fuel you to make other things, then that's that's the beauty of DIY, and that's where it's not a waste of time, because you're actually becoming more skilled, and you are finding more fulfillment with the things that you make. Because if you're just about the thing, there's so many ways now to get it cheaper and better than you could make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when the COVID cure zombie apocalypse happens, you'll be prepared.
Amen to that.
So that was a joke, obviously, but there is some, there's some thought to that. Like, with COVID happening, everybody kind of lost perspective on how things could go. Like, we lost toilet paper there for a while.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of DIY toilet papers out there, and I watched them, and I realized that those were not good methods. A lot of people didn't know how to handle not having our prefabbed, Cottonelle or what's that Charmin,
Yep.
pillow on our butts. We had no idea how to handle what we're going to do.
That same experience about toilet paper can be multiplied across everything. I remember one time my daughter broke her Hatchimal.
Oh, yeah.
This toy that was super annoying,
And super expensive.
She broke it. Like, she had only had it like a week and a half. And it was funny because my wife was like, Corey, you're always messing with electronics. Can you fix this? And I remember what I said to her. I was like, it's a complex electronic, but if it's one of two things, I could fix it. So I was like, so I want to open it up first, because if it's that, then yes, I can. And I did fix it, and my daughter thought I was a superhero.
Magic.
So that can be applied to everything, heaters and drywall and just stuff breaking. It's like, well, I don't know this, but I do have more experience, so I can either try, I can duke until I'm good enough to do it myself, or I'm better, I'm more able to do that because of the time that I have spent DIYing.
There's a cautious confidence that I think comes from doing DIY, and doing kind of the Duke method and all of that, because the cautious confidence isn't like, you aren't overconfident, like, yeah, I can fix a Furby or Hatchimal or whatever. I know at least this little part of it, and if it's that part I know, I can do it. And so I'm gonna at least try before I toss out this $40 toy that I kind of want broken anyway, but
Corey just cried himself to sleep. Why did I fix that? As it slowly sneaked into his room. Corey, you fixed me.
Father. You didn't. Yeah, it's only wasted time if you don't learn or if you give up. But sometimes I just think people waste time and money on thousands of things, hundreds of thousands of things that are never that good for them.
Yeah. Also, to go in the comments, let us know what you've wasted time on and how it helped you grow, because those stories are inspirational.
Hey there, me again. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing. Also, part 2 will either be out next week or will be in a link in the description, depending on when you're watching this. Catch you later.